This is the 6th video in the series of videos on Relate to Profit. We're going to look at the reporting capabilities, which are fairly extensive in Relate to Profit. I have clicked on the reports main menu item, and we have a variety of reporting options on the submenu. First two we're going to look at are contact reports and activity reports. Think of it this way. Contact reports are built around contact information, where all of the reports are centered around your contacts. Activity reports are based around activities. So the basis for these reports are the activities that you have performed with your contacts. So we're looking at the contacts report right now, and what we have are the canned Relate to Profit contact reports. These reports are provided to you as part of Relate to Profit. The reports below here are customized reports that I have created from these canned reports, and I'll show you how that's done. But first, I'm looking at the contacts report right now, and what I have here in this panel are all of the fields that are available to me, and I can choose which fields I actually want to see on my report results. I can also put criteria on these fields to determine which records are returned in my report results. So if I was just to submit this right now without specifying any criteria, I would get a list of all of the contacts in my database, which would be a fairly large list. So I'll put a criteria on here just to show you what the reports look like. I'm going to ask for only account executive professions. I don't have to display the field to put criteria on the field, and I'm going to click the submit button. So here are the report results. This will give me a printable version of this report. This will return me to the criteria form with the same criteria that I used. And we have an I want to drop down box here. So we can email these results to one person. And what that does is it sends an email to the person that you specify with a link in it that will bring them to this page to see these results. However, they will not have any menu items, so they will not be able to navigate around in your Relate to Profit subscription. They will only get these results. We can email the results to a group of contacts, and we can export the results to Excel. Now, these are the results that I asked for. These are the fields that I requested. I can click on a header, and it will sort it by that column. And I can add and subtract fields to this display by returning back to my criteria form, adding a couple of fields, clicking submit again, and now you'll see I have behavior styles listed with my results. I'm going to return to my criteria form, and notice that the selections that I made are still selected for me. I can scroll down and I can save this report. I can give it a name and save this specific report with these selections, and it'll end up in this list here. So that is a quick overview of how the reports work. I'm not going to go into detail on each of the reports. The best thing to do is to come in here once you have some data and play with these reports, see what they give you. So a brief description of each of these reports. The contact reports is a fairly simple export, if you will, list of the contacts in your database, along with the attributes that you can select for each contact. The contact relationships report simply adds more fields for you to choose from. It adds more of the relationship fields that you have entered, like the relationship stage, the status, the relationship network, and the referral level. So very similar to the contacts report, it just adds more fields for you to display and to put criteria on. Profitable clients report is also based around your contacts, but it pre-selects some information, such as it needs to have a completion date, and you can modify the dates of this completion dates, and it has the actual revenue set to greater than 0. So this is showing you clients that have actual revenue and that have completed activities. The profitable referral sources report also pre-selects some fields for you. Again, it has to have a completion date, and you can change the completion date range. The actual revenue has to be greater than 0, but what this is doing is it is looking for referrals to clients with a revenue greater than 0 and showing you where the referrals came from. So we have a detailed version of that, and we have a summary version of that, and the difference is you're going to have more or less fields to display. So those are contact reports. Activity reports work the same way in that you have a set of activity reports that are built into Relate to Profit. You can, again, save these reports with your own criteria. You have the field list for each of these with the checkboxes, and you have the criteria that allows you to put boundaries on your report results. So those are two groups of reports that are very similar. The remaining reports are very specialized. So there's the goals report, which is associated with the goals that you have created in the accountability tab. So you can look at your progress against these goals by putting in a date range, clicking submit, and it lists each of your activities that you set up in your goals, what your goal is, and what you have achieved. I have to get a font in place for this to work. This will typically display a little graph, a little bar chart of your progress. So I will fix that. But this is just showing you the progress against the goals you have set up in your accountability. Your referral scorecard, again, put in a date range. I guess it's not going to make much difference here because I don't have many activities going back to March. Click submit. And what it does is it takes each of your activities by activity group, shows you the scorecard value, and shows you every day how many scorecard points you achieved. So this is a good way to stay on top of your scorecard. I'm going to go back and I'm going to choose a 1 week date range here. Oops. Let's do a couple of weeks. Shouldn't really have anything completed past today's date. So again, this is a little bit more readable, and you'll have some totals here at the bottom. So you'll see I have some scorecard points for the items that I put in yesterday. Closed deal, I describe product and services. So these are 2 referrals that I recorded yesterday. And the gift that I recorded yesterday. So remember, the scorecard is a measure of your giving activities. So it's not all of your activities, it's only the activities that have a scorecard value. And again, you can manipulate this under options in your activities. You can manipulate the scorecard values. Just keep in mind that the activities, the scorecard is for giving values. You should not have scorecard values on items that you are getting, things that you are receiving. So that's the scorecard report. The referral code reports, I will show you that later in another video. It relates to referral codes, which can be set up in your admin area. The relationship tree report is very interesting. This is how you met somebody. Then this goes back to you recording your referrals. So the relationship tree shows you how you were introduced to a contact. So if I put a contact in here, contact name, it says that Zach was introduced to me by Don, Don was introduced to me by Mike, and Mike was introduced to me by Paula. So over time, you can see that this can grow to see the value of the relationships that you have and how you actually ended up meeting this person who may become a valuable member of your contacts. And then we have the opposite, the referral tree, which shows you who I have been introduced to. So if I put in Macedonia, you are going to see a very large, I'm not sure which one to select, so that's the first one. He's in here several times because he has several companies. So this is the one with Referral Institute. So you can see listed in alphabetical order that Mike has referred me to Tanya. Tanya referred Christina Manson. Christina Manson referred Leif, and so on. And it has the value that each person has spent with me. So again, Mike has introduced me to Thomas. Thomas has introduced me to each of these people. And some of these people have actually become clients of mine. So you can see as we go down that there's a substantial list here of referrals from Mike Macedonia. So that's the relationship tree and the referral tree reports. The pipeline is a referral institute, maybe BNI concept, where you can measure or predict how many people you need in your pipeline at all times by filling out this little survey here. The amount of business that you need this year, the typical revenue per deal, the closing ratio, the average lead time, and the prospects currently in your pipeline, and the number of weeks you want to work this year. Notice that some of these items are actually measured by Relate to Profit. If you remember on the home page, some of these items were listed so you can plug them in. And you can play what if games here. What if your closing ratio jumped to 60%? How would that affect the referrals that you need? So I'm going to click calculate. It shows me my inputs, and then it makes some predictions. Based on that information, it tells me I need 67 additional clients, which means I need 133 referrals based on my closing ratio, and my lead time says I need 13 weeks. I always need 10 prospects in my pipeline, and to achieve this goal, I need 123 referrals, which comes down to 2.47 referrals a week. So it's a nice little tool. Referral Institute teaches this, and you can play with these numbers to see how many referrals you're looking for each week to generate the income that you're looking for. So that's a summary of the reports. I didn't want to go into a lot of detail. There's a lot of information here. After a few months of data entry, these reports will show you some interesting data.